Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? You what? God design, God design.
What's going on, board buddies? What's happening? We back again. How y'all day going today? I hope everybody having a great day. We got a very special episode. We've been in the lab working on this for quite a long time. I hope that y'all been busy, y'all been active, because I sure been busy with my time. I ain't been wasting time, because guess what? We ain't getting these days back or these minutes back. So guess what? I got a very special episode. I've been working on this for quite a bit of time. I'm gonna go through a couple different things. It's taking me a while to get this out because I've been working on it for so long. I've been working on it, and every time I do my homework and I do my research, I find out something new and I find out something different. So I got all of these things, and it's going to take all of this time, and I'll never end up getting it out. And you know what? Sometimes you got to do, you got to just go ahead and do it and just jump straight into it. That's what I do. Sometimes I just get straight into it. So I'm going to bring y'all this episode today. I know I've been doing a whole lot with everybody else, and I hope that y'all been enjoying the ride. We've been having a whole lot of fun and getting this stuff out. And at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about it is you can always go back and watch it again if you missed it. So it's on the channel and it's going to be there because we keep it fair and we keep it square. We're not on here vulgar and cussing it. This is some information that the kids can watch and be useful for knowledge about breeding. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't know what's happening, if today is your first time being here, I'm Jordan Pittman, and I'll do this thing with these Boerboels. I lived a Boerboel life, and I've been doing it for 17 years now, going on 18 years. This is my getting close to be 20 years. So I feel like just giving back to the breed that's done so much for me. And this is so today we're going to go into the selection of a stud dog and how you acquire one. And one of the beautiful things about these dogs is it allow you to build these relationships. And when you put yourself out there and you put your stock out there and you show what you got, what you're working with, it brings people to you that's just like you, that's interested in the same things that you into, the same kind of dogs that you into. And so you have the common interest, and it allows you to build. And construction is the root of what we're trying to do. We're trying to build and contribute and positivity and grow. And it's always, you got to depend on yourself, no doubt about that, but it's good when you can work with others. So people come to me and I meet people, and we able to network and build, and I connected with someone. So we're gonna go over the story of how we acquired this dog, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about why we chose this dog, and then we're gonna dive into this dog's pedigree, and we're gonna show why this dog is a valuable dog, and it's gonna be an asset, and it's gonna be a great contributor, and why we didn't just go with any dog, the first dog that we came across. This is so let me introduce y'all to the dog. If you didn't know, I talked about this dog before. If you haven't seen him, here you go. This is Black Iron Knox, young pup, started over from the beginning. And so my dude came to me. He got two dogs from me. He got two young Balto daughters, premiums. And we built this relationship because we got the common interest in that. We really like the same type of dogs, and we like the same type of things. And he pulled up on me, and he got the family in this, like, okay, this is going to work. This is a great situation for some dogs, a great situation for them to grow up in, to be accompanied with children, and it's an ideal situation. It's not going to be, mistreated. Likely it's going to be a great best friend for the children growing up and the wife. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to be at work a lot. I do a lot of working and stuff. So I'm saying, okay, I got the perfect situation for you. He falls in love so heavy with the dogs. This is what Boerboels do, and this is why I say they're one of the best dogs ever in the history of all dogs, because the dogs is so awesome. They got everything that a dog can have and everything that you could want in a dog. And it's big, it's strong. It's like the perfect dog for your family. It's the perfect dog for any given situation when you just want to have a dog that's going to be right here by your side and not just harassing you all day and just cooling out and chilling and hanging with the family and doing things. smart, intelligent, beautiful, impressive, something that you can be proud of. Every time you step out, people gravitate towards the dog and showing interest in what you got going on. So the beautiful thing about a Boerboels, that's the beautiful thing about the Boerboels. And so my friend, he falls in love with the dogs and he said he want to breed them. So I say, okay, that's cool. We can start establishing something. He asked me, can I help him? I say, yeah, man, I'll walk you through it. I help you with it the best I can. I'll do anything I can to help you, especially you got my dogs. Whatever we got to do to make it work. So the dogs grow up and get older. And so he said, man, you know what? We start thinking about a stud dog. And I felt like, okay, yeah, I think that's a valid, it's a good idea to keep a stud dog on deck versus going out and using a stud dog one time. It doesn't work. You then spend a stud fee for the same price. You can get a dog, but you don't want a puppy. So we got to be very selective. We don't just want any dog either. And when you're talking about a grown-up dog and you bring in this dog, we want it to be a very significant dog. We want it to be a great contributor. We wanted the dog to add value to the program. We want to be we looking for something very specific. We got to first off take a look at ourselves and our weaknesses. We're going to take a look at our weaknesses and we're going to evaluate our bloodlines and what are we seeing over and over again. That's one of the downfalls of what we got going on. And if you look at the exotic line, I'm not kennel blind. One of the things that I see happening with my dogs is, if you look at the conformation, is they get a little easty westy in the front, which is common within them. Now there's one of the dogs there, and he's hanging out with going back and forth with some exotic stock. The dog is on the left. He's the smaller dog. His name is Knox. And you see he's facing off there with top-notch Giannis. But like I'm saying, you want to be very selective. You're not just breeding dogs to have puppies. We trying to advance, and we trying to evolve a bloodline, the breed. We want to evolve the breed. We want to make sure that we are bettering our stock and our program, and just producing puppies to have dogs. The dogs that we produce are some of the best that ever could be created. That's the mindset that we're trying to produce something very specific. That the level of quality is not to be compared. So what we do is we want to go to the very best that is available. So my dude hits me. I give him a list of breeders to contact, and he reaches out to him. He gets back with me. He got a list of dogs. He shows me the dogs. We go through the dogs. We're going back and forth for about 3-4 months, maybe. And we're looking at dogs about, a lot of times the first dog that you see is not the one that you want to buy. That's just the way that it is. It's not the perfect match. It's not just about any dog. So the first dog that we get, the first dogs that we looking at is the first dogs that they offering for us is not of the highest caliber. It's not what we're looking for to match up perfectly. It's got to be something to increase our value. We're not going to add any, we're not going to maybe fix one thing by bringing in a dog that's unrelated. So, because that's not just the goal to just have a dog that's unrelated, right? The dog also got to contribute. So we don't solve one problem, and then in the solving of the one problem, we create 3 or 4 more problems down the line. Now down the line, we dealing with we thinking about the future, a whole nother can of worms. Now we got 3 or 4 other problems to fix. So we want to address something that is going to be sustainable. We're going to pick our dog very specifically, right? So the first few, the 9, 10, 20 dogs that we looked at, all big nose, not just because they were unrelated, but because, like I said, we're going for a very ideal specimen. And so we end up with this dog. We find this dog, and it's very odd that he popped up the way that he did, because immediately it didn't take me but 2 seconds to say, yes, that's what we want. Go ahead. And so my dude says, okay, good. She pops up, sends the deposit, bam, just like that. He makes the transaction. We acquire the dog. Now knowing what I know about the dog immediately off the top, he's a son of Black Iron Riff, and the dog, the mom is Black Iron Bendy. Black Iron Bendy is like I know the dog. I just know I'm just familiar with certain dogs, and I study pedigrees, and I know the idea of who I would like to roll with and with the type of dogs that I'm looking for to include, right? So let's get into the pedigree so you can see what I've been finding out. And it's really interesting because I find this new website, and this website allows you to do a lot of different things with the Boerboel pedigree. I know I've showed you before the other pedigree database, but we're going to dive into this dog pedigree so I can fully explain it. You can get a greater appreciation for the dog. So first, let's just do some visuals. Let's go over the dog on the visual side, though, while we still got him up here on the screen. Riff, if you look at him, he's not the biggest dog. He's not gigantic, right? He's not 100% humongous. So let's just strike that off the look. If you're looking for 200 pound on top of 200-pound dog, you got that wrong idea with the Boerboel, because I'm gonna tell you this much: a big dogs fall apart, right? You want to try to balance it out. That's why I say I'm looking for the tweener, not the 200-pounder. I'm looking for the dog around 160 pounds that can move, that can still do is purely 100% functional, right? So when you're looking at this dog right here, you don't see no extreme exaggeration. You don't see him looking oversized. When I immediately looked at the dog, I'm looking at the features, right? The characteristics. Is he balanced? Okay, look at him right there from head to toe. If you're looking at the amount of height to the amount of width, okay, it's in proportion, right? Look at the bone. It's not extreme. It's not exaggerated, right? Look at the top line. Look at the tail set. Conformationally sound. Look at the structure. He's checking out on all boxes. Look at the neck, right? It's not exaggerated. It's not big, but it's proportion, right? From head to toe. So what happens is you keep a dog complete. When you're bringing in dogs that's unrelated to your bloodline, you want to make sure that you're not going to, like I said, introduce new issues. New confirmation for me is essential structure. I want sound structure, because I want to be able to take a dog and make it move and still look good and be purposeful and still beautiful. So, we have a desired look. It's the little things, right? The Boerboel is a beautiful dog, and you could feel like you could take any dog and make more beautiful dog, and that is true to some degree. But then again, we're going for, remember, exotic. Exotic has got to be something very unique, something very specific. And remember, we're trying to improve the neatness of the feet, right? So this is something that I didn't realize in the beginning, and how I became aware of this was somebody pointed it out to me. And like I said, I'm not blind to my own eyes. I'm going to see like, wow, I didn't even realize that somebody had said something to me about pastorings. And I said, okay, after that, I looked at my dog's feet. I said, wow, that I didn't know that it looked at that bad. I didn't know that it looked at that bad. There we go. You know what I'm talking about, bro. Boss man, there he is right there. George, what's happening, bro? So like I was, but yeah, I didn't catch the comment. But like I said, though, you want to be something very specific. Like I said, we're trying to improve. We want to pick up. We want to build. So we're looking at all of these different dogs. We finally settle on this dog because of those features, those characteristics and traits, right? We're trying to improve. We're talking about the feet. We're talking about neatness of the feet, right? The structure, very important. Somebody had showed me, they pointed it out to me, and I couldn't unsee it after that, right? Somebody was trying to criticize my dogs online. People, I look at my dogs as like my family. I'm very proud of my dogs, and so I work really hard with them, and I don't want to hear nothing bad about them. So somebody said, they pointed it out to me, but when they said it to me, I had to be honest with myself, and I said, well, that's just the inspiration for me to do better and improve. So ever since then, that's something that I've been trying to do. And I looked at myself, and you got to be honest with yourself, right? If you really want to be the best, if you really aspire to be a master, if you really aspire to be the master, you got to be constantly working on yourself and chiseling it. Like it's like a masterpiece, a work of art. It takes time to develop. It's not just done overnight. You got to be chipping. It take years, practice daily, in and out. You got to think about like the monks. You got to think about anybody that's a master at really what they do. You got to think about like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. They just constantly shooting and practicing all the time, even though that they done risen to the level of greatness or professionalism, right? It's not so much about just that. It's mastery. So when you're thinking about it like that, you got to address it in that situation. So I'm not going to just take no shorts when it. No, I'm going to address it. So what I did was, this is the idea when we looking at this dog, you see the feet that's going straight down. It's like nails nailing it down into the you see the way the feet are nailing down, stabbing down into the ground. That's what we like to see, and that's strong passers and feet around the knuckles. So let's get into the pedigree a little bit, because this was really interesting after I found out the dog. I'm always of the mind that the dog matters first. Let me bring y'all to this new site. It's with the WBBA pedigree database. Let me show you how to get there. Let me show you how to get there. So you go to this WBBA pedigree database or the WBBA website. Go to the database. You're gonna first. Let's go to the WBBA website. This is how you hit it. Go here to the WBBA, Boerboels Breeders Association. And then what you want to do is go over here to a database. Click on database. Now this is super cool if you into Boerboels, if you into dogs, if you do on pedigree research, if you really serious about what you're trying to do, you need to do some research. So you need to do some homework. And you want to go to the database, and then you're going to go to search, and then you enter in the dog's name. So we're going to go Riff is the father, and then you go Riff. And what's really cool about this, the site, is the amount of information that's available. So that's what matters to me the most. Like I'm all about the dogs and the data, right? So let's get into it. Here you see basic information, the name, the date of birth, coefficients of inbreeding, which is pretty standard information. And then you got the basic pedigree here, right? You can click here where it says pedigree analysis and see this really elaborate chart and have really in-depth detailed information. If you look up here, it tells you the name and each individual. It's a list of each individual ancestor, followed by the gender, and then it followed by the bloodline percentage. And then it has the amount of times the dog is mentioned in the pedigree. And then it goes into where this dog is mentioned in the pedigree and whether it's on the mother side or the father side. So the father side is first, and then the mother side is second. And so, for example, if you go down here and look at a dog like Leo Robin, this dog is in the pedigree 4.8% of the blood, 15 times on the father side, 10 times the mother side, and then you can trace it down even further. It's mentioned 4 times in the 8th generation of the mother's pedigree. So it's a great tool to really identify the contributing ancestors to your pedigree. If you want to see a dog and see what he's made of, what he's built, you can see that this dog is 7 times grassland Bronto. I'm familiar with all of these dogs, but if you weren't familiar with these dogs, you could just simply copy the thing and click it and copy and paste it into Google for further research. Another cool thing about this is you can isolate the families of dogs, right? So I type in YSTER here, and then I'm able to see how many times the Eisterberg family, what are the Eisterberg family contributors to this bloodline. And I can see here that, we got familiar dogs or staples of the dog in the dog is 6 and 6, vector 3, excuse me, so on and so forth. Valuable information. This tells you the contributing families, and then you can just go through and really just get an idea of what to expect by analyzing these dogs, puppies that they produced, the sisters, the brothers, and just get familiar with the bloodlines and the way that they dogs were composed and the breeders that came before you. So Knox, what's up with everybody in the chat checking in? Appreciate y'all. So look at the pedigree and the way that it's broken down. You see here it's the first generation outlaw Boerboels on the top, followed by the first generation black iron Boerboels on the bottom. And that's significant because you're looking at cornerstones of breeding programs. These are the first generations. So you are likely to see these dogs in all of the pedigrees of those breeding programs. They thought that they were worthy enough. And this dog here was let me see. So this is another cool thing about this database. You can click on here where it says, can y'all see that? Oh my God. I'm on the wrong page. Let me see. Here you go, right here. So yeah, here's the pedigree. This is like I was saying though, this is a really cool database, right? You go here. Now we're on the right page. Sorry about that, boy buddies. I was just going through that for a few minutes. Okay, we'll take it back to the top. Take it back to the top. Here's the database. This is how you get there. You're gonna go to right here, WBBA Boerboel. You're gonna click on database. Click on database. And then say go to the database. And then search. Then we're gonna go Riff. Black Iron Riff is the father of the dogs. The database is, like I was saying, is super cool because it takes you through the pedigree, top and bottom. You can look also, you can do a deep dive into the pedigree. And like I was saying, you can see is all of the different contributing families of the dog, how many times that they were mentioned, right? So in this pedigree, can y'all see that? Let me here. You can see how many times it's being mentioned. Okay. Here it is right here. There we go. Now, there we go. This is super cool, y'all. Look at this. In the pedigree, the first line, you got the dog's name, the father, the dog, the mother. Second line, you got the blood percentage. Then here you have what I was saying about the amount of times that the dog is being mentioned in the pedigree. So on the left-hand side, you got the 1, which is the father side. On the right-hand side is the mother side. Then you also got the amount of generations. So this dog, you can see, has 16 times generations on both sides. When you see that C, that means that it's a common ancestor on both sides, the mother's pedigree and the father's pedigree. You can see that it's 16 times on the father's side, 9 times on the mother's side. Then you also can see that each generation, where the dog is being mentioned at. So in the sixth line, you see that this dog is mentioned one time, and the second on the mother side, and then on the seventh generation, it's 4 times in the pedigree. On the father side, 2 times in the pedigree on the mother side, 6 times in the pedigree on the father side in the 8th generation, and then you got the total over here. So that's where it really is important. And this gives you a real clue and an idea of how the dog is composed and what the dog is made of. Then you can also go up here to where it says, in this box here, you can type in these key letters, and then you can see the different contributors or the families. So you can see on the ice, I typed in YSTER, and I can see this pedigree has on the Eisterberg side, you can see that all of the different Eisterberg dogs, and now you got a real idea of the composition of the bloodline. So this is a valuable tool. Another cool thing is you can do trial mating. So here we're going to add the mom, Bendy, right? This is how you look it up. Just type in BINDI. And now we got a virtual mating. Just like that, boom. Now, this is the actual pedigree of the dog that we have. Here, we can go into the full analysis of the pedigree and look at this chart. I really like this part of the pedigree database because, again, let me walk through this with y'all. In these boxes, on the top you got the moms, on the bottom you got on the top you got the dads, on the bottom you got the moms. Males are indicated by the shaded of blue in the pedigree, and then the females are indicated with a shaded of red. If you go through the pedigree, you also note that there are different colored borders around some of the dogs. So let's go take a look at this dog, Peninsula Phoebe, and you see that this is a male Mahakula Rafa. We know that for a fact, but it's shaded with a red border. What does that mean? That means that this dog is also on a single contributor on the mother's side. When you have the dog as a contributor on both sides of the pedigree, that's indicated with a black box, a black border around the pedigree. So this is how you use this tool. And so if you look further back in the pedigree database, you see a lot of these dogs have black borders around them going through the database. All of these dogs with the black borders that means that they're being mentioned on both sides of the pedigree, right? That's very important information because when you're thinking about a breed of dogs, when you're talking about a family of dogs, that's really what that means. It means a family of common ancestors. Who are these ancestors? What is this dog composed of? Here is your pedigree research. This is a very intense pedigree that you're not going to see this where all of the ancestors are listed in one place. That's really cool. So every time that you see a line coming from the dog, that's an indication of how many different offsprings come from that dog. So if you look at some of these dogs like Peona Luger, which was high mentioned many times in that list. On that list, you can see how many different dogs, or like Renard Martins is another. dog that was mentioned many times. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 lines of dogs that come from him, including Dapper Madala, Esfasaki, Linjo Thaibo. These are all of these, it shows all of the lines going to the pedigree. So then you can go, if you want to do further research, you can take those dogs and throw them into Google. All of these different offspring off of Martins are then highlighted. So that's really cool and a valuable tool, especially when you want to make sure that you how you breeding. If you're breeding for preservation, if you're breeding for longevity, you want to know and be familiar with the dogs that are in your pedigree and in the different pedigrees. And this gives you a visual detail. So looking at the pedigree, what I found some really cool dogs. And we're gonna go over them, right? Let's just go over the pedigree again. Let me see. So, like I was saying, Riff is evolution of several different dogs, but you see his mother on is Black Iron Boston, which is the first generation of the Black Iron dogs. And then if you look at Bendy is the mother of Knox. She is the first generation, and it is. If you look at this dog, so Knox is a year old. She was born in 2017. That would have put her at around 5 to 6 years old when she produced the dog. So you notice she was at the end of the pedigree. Now, why is that significant? She was at the end of her breeding career. Why is that significant? Well, that's significant because when you have a dog that's later in her breeding and her production career, you don't tend to see as robust offspring. They're not going to be as big. So that may be a reason why. They're not going to be as, in my experience, that's just my experience. I feel like the puppies in the beginning, when you breed the dog first in the very beginning, that's when you're going to get those super duper puppies and those super duper dogs. The very first litters, and when she's at her, most fertile, when she's at have her most energy, her system haven't been taxed at all. That's when the dog is fresh, and it won't be in better condition ever, in my experience, than the first litter. So we like to see those young litters, but this dog was probably producing late in his career, but that's still an indication of fitness, an indication of fertility, that the dog was still able to produce late in her career. This dog was still valuable enough to be bred late in the career. So those are some key points to take note of when you're studying and when you're doing your analysis of the dog and breaking it down and getting really familiar with the dog. You got to look at this, because responsible and ethical breeding, you don't want to be breeding a dog at 7, 8 years old, right? And that's just being fair to the dog. Once a dog have served you, especially when you look at what the dog has done and what it means to you. If you look at this dog, Bendy was one of the foundation dogs of this bloodline, one of the first dogs, right? One of the first dogs that was bred, first generation Black Iron bloodline. So that's significant in itself. And if you look at on the dad's side, you see where he came from out. You got some other contributing bloodlines on the barbarian side, first generation barbarian Athena. And why am I mentioning that? Why am I mentioning that these are first generations? I'm talking about the selection process. I'm talking about dogs that would make somebody go out and feel comfortable enough to buy, or comfortable enough to breed, or comfortable enough to establish a program. This dog proved true, because if you look, somebody else went and bought the dog and said, okay, I'm going to build a program, or I'm going to build something off of this dog. Or you see what I'm saying? These are foundation cornerstones of breeding programs. not just established bloodlines. They're not established bloodlines. It's not just a bloodline, but these are foundations and cornerstone dogs of different programs. This is like a selection process that you want to identify, and it's like really sent down from the heavens if you want to think about it. And it's like meant to be. It's meant to be the way that the cookies feel, the way that the cars feel, the way that the cookie crumbled. So we're looking at this entire pedigree. We see some foundation dogs. Let's dig deeper. Let's dig deeper. Who are these dogs? Who are these dogs? That's where this pedigree analysis part comes in. That's what makes this thing really cool. So we can dig deep. And there's some dogs in here that I know, right? We talk about Rambo. Let's talk about him, the first one, because that's modern times that everybody seems to know. And we always go into Rambo. So it just makes this thing really sweet, man, because you could just go in there and see Rambo. Rambo is mentioned 2 times on the father's side, 2 times on the mother's side. And that don't seem too bad, right? That's not that bad at all. But the problem when you start talking about a breed of dogs, a family of dogs, right? We really get it down deep into it. What is Rambo really made of? Yeah, it's just 2 times on the top and 2 times on the bottom. But when you really dig deep into the pedigree, you're gonna see dogs like Corma Bucks, 16 times on the top, 18 times on the 16 times on the top, 8 times on the bottom. So that means that this dog is a total of 24 times Corma Bucks. That means that individual is mentioned in the pedigree 24 times. 24 times. Okay. That is a little bit mind-boggling. Think about that. Yes, in the beginning, they don't seem to be closely related at all. But if you dig deep, because it's a family of dogs, when you start talking about line breeding or talking about inbreeding, if you mention this dog individual that we are speaking of right now, which is Black Iron Knox, anytime that you double up on the pedigree, now we have 16, 24 plus 24 is 48 times. How many times can we do this in a breed? That's why I like to use dogs that are unrelated, because even though that they seem like they unrelated, they are actually are related. So let's get a little further into the pedigree. Let's take a look at some of these common ancestors. Makes this dog super duper cool because I'm gonna show you another one. So the plan is to bring these. Can y'all still hear me though? Hello? Okay, there we go. Yeah, my fault, boy, buddies. But yeah, so at the end of the day, we trying to correct. We trying to address something. We trying to bring the dogs together. Let me give y'all another pedigree. This is of a Balto. This through the virtual mating, right? So we're able to compare the contributing ancestors that make Balto up and the same ancestors that make up Riff. So let's take a look at Riff. Let's do a virtual mating. We're gonna put Riff with Bendy. Okay, so here we go. Let's just compare some common ancestors. My dog, I know, doesn't have Rambo in him, right? But I know that he does have Cornwall Bucks. So we're gonna look at Cornwall Bucks. Now, even though these two dogs are supposedly unrelated, they come from two distinctly different bloodlines. We say we're bringing them together for the first time in the history. Actually, the truth that couldn't be that's not exactly 100% true. It makes sense because if you look at the variation of the pedigree, right? Look at this is a pedigree of what is this? This is a Riff. Now, what you want to see in any good pedigree is like a cone shape or like a funnel or like it looks like a top. And at the back is some few ancestors, and then you see all of the different varieties of those few ancestors throughout the pedigree, and you see, and then it narrows down. So those are progeny and productions of the from the beginning, and it narrows it down and it breaks it down into you see the evolution of the breed. You see the refinement process. So we're going to look and see how common the ancestors are. We're going to look at this pedigree now. Here is Balto's pedigree. Let's look at Cornwall Bucks. Wow. Now, Balto is 32 times Cornwall Bucks. We just looked at Knox's pedigree. Knox was 24 times Cornwall Bucks. So what does that mean? What is the significance of that? Let me break it down for you. That means that through the evolution in the history of breeders, Cornwall Bucks held value. He was a popular sire. People have taken different varieties of Cornwall Bucks, and this is a strand. When you see Balto, when you see Knox, even though they're different dogs, different bloodlines, because they are of the same breed, they have these common ancestors. They are still relatives. That's why when you breeding dogs, purebreds, you're actually inbreeding relatives. And that is where you have to use, you want to use unrelated, seemingly quote unquote, unrelated bloodlines. So on paper, in the front, in the very beginning, when you look at this on the surface, you see black iron, and then you see exotic coming together, and it's two dogs of two varieties of Boerboel. that seem like they totally unrelated. But the truth of the matter is, because it's a breed of dogs, because it's a family of dogs, they actually are related. And what's happening is inbreeding and line breeding on certain particular ancestors that have these desired features that are known to reproduce and recreate these desired traits on a consistent and regular basis, on a reoccurring basis. So even though we just looked at the other pedigree, and we can do it again. We can go over here on the trial mate, and that's why I think that this place is really cool over here where we at. Go over here to the trial mate, and here it is here. Let me see. Yeah, let's go over here to the next one. Okay, boom. Share this tab. That's it. Hey, so forgive me, board buddies, as I get this together, but we're gonna master this and we're gonna get good. It just takes practice. So the first time I have done this like this before, but here we go though. Now let's look at his pedigree. We said we was gonna look at the pedigree analysis, and we're gonna see how many times Corner Bucks was in the pedigree. There you go, right there. 24 times. 24 times in the pedigree. And that is why I keep on speaking about the issues within the breed. Because these dogs are now, how many times can you do that safely? Eventually, we will start to see defects, flaws, and negative things associated with these dogs because they have to have something wrong. No dog is perfect. That is why you got to do your homework. That's why you got to do your research, because every dog got a flaw, and I don't care who it is. Nobody. Some people want to act like their dog's perfect. I'm not gonna fake you out and tell you all dogs is perfect. I'm gonna look at the dog and with a straight up tell you about my dog included. I want to be objective because, like I said, it's about improvement. So we got to be real with ourselves. At some point, we need to be starting to identify what are these different ailments and traits once we start to get inbreeding to a certain degree. We got to find out what are these issues, because there's gonna be something that's gotta be. We getting ready to double up on this particular dog. Will be 56 times. So this has always been questions that I have had. So far, everything's been working good. Everything's been working like a champ. We got great expectations for the litters. But what you're going to see definitely is consistency across the board, because of the fact of the matter is, the way that the dogs have been selected, we got a reasonable expectation of greatness across the board from the top to the bottom. We got greatness on the top, greatness on the bottom. You got multiple generations of greatness. I'm going to show you another ancestor that I thought was valuable, that I thought was interesting. This dog named Janice. We see is this dog was imported to the United States by Castle Inu Boerboels, and he's mentioned in this pedigree. This is Riff and Bendy, 7 times on the top and 2 times on the bottom. So he's 9 times Janice. I mean, this is some magnificent contributors to the breed that really made a difference. And you see them in the 6th generation, 7th generation, 8th generation, 9th generation. So that's meaningful. That's meaningful. These are those that you want to identify. And let me give y'all a visual on him so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Jump right over here to Google, and now we can see some pictures of some videos of Giannis. Is how you say his name. Just a beautiful stud dog, though. Just a beautiful dog, really, through and through. And do it all over again. This is how you do your pedigree research when it comes to Boerboels. Very valuable tool. Excuse me. So I hope that was a valuable information and understanding. I got to go back through this and look at it and make sure that it came out the way that it was supposed to. But like I said, we not just doing anything. If you look and see what we got going on, everything that we got is exclusive and it's very selective. We everything that we got is premium stock. We not just haphazardly putting stuff together. We could be able to, because when we comes down to it, I think about what I would like to do for myself. It is what I like for others, right? And I'm hard and I'm tough on myself even, because I expect nothing but the best for myself. So I'm not gonna just settle for anything, and I'm not gonna just deliver on anything. And what I mean by that is, when we breeding dogs, is for our program. It's for our program, and we thinking about ourselves, what we would like to have for ourselves, and it can't be nothing less than that for you. We won't give it you nothing less. That's what we want for you as well, because we are one. At the end of the day, it's a community. We together, we working together, and we're trying to build together. And it takes a team when you come to these dogs, because you got a family of dogs and you just can't keep them all. It ain't fair to you and it ain't fair to the dog. If you want to have a life, if you want to live and do things, you got to build relationships, you got to build partnerships, and you got to treat people right. And you want to be bringing the best to that you can, doing your homework and giving it your all, so that people know. I mean, and then it's going to be in the results. When it comes down to the results, you're going to be seeing it in the results and the value. And that's the bottom line. And so that's what we got going on here. And I just wanted to take a little trip so y'all can see what we've been working on. I hope that it came out, because I was really trying to focus on delivering the information. I didn't see that I wasn't sharing the tabs. But check out that database, and you can throw some names in there. I know some of that came up. I was showing how to look at the pedigrees. Again, here goes a prominent ancestor that's reoccurring. It's going to be on both sides of the pedigree. Who is this that we're looking at here? Renard Martins, 11 times on the father's side, 12 times on the mother's side, for a total of 23. Yeah, this is Black Iron Rift. So then we can go over here to Balto's pedigree, and then we can look at the same dog. Make sure that we got to share this tab. So now we're looking at Balto's pedigree, and then we're going to look at the same way. This time we're looking at Martins. Type in M-A-R-T. Go to Martins. Martins 23 times. So 23 times on Balto's pedigree, 23 times on Knox's pedigree. Even though these two dogs are seen again, they're more related than we think, because we found another common ancestor, and you're going to find this over and over again. So not only would we be doubling up on Korma bucks that many times, but we also, it was 24 and 32. So that's 56 times Korma bucks. The following generations will be doubling up 23 on 23 Renard Martins. So we definitely we know what to expect. We got reasonable expectations that we're not going to get a whole bunch of different variety, or we could pretty much presume whatever those dogs were bringing, that assets, the traits that we deem desirable, because of the selection of generations. We're talking about multiple generations. It's way back in the 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, on the top and the bottom. We have fair reason to presume that the traits that those dogs brought and delivered at the time that they were deemed to be valuable, were selected for multiple generations. They still, because their offspring were desired producers, or desired for breeding programs to produce. That's how you analyze a pedigree, right? But you still, the most valuable thing of all is the dog before your eyes. It's not the paper. It's not the actual paperwork. It's the words that are on the paper that is valuable. So keep that in mind when you're looking at dogs as people talking about the papers. You're not going to just, that shouldn't just satisfy your desires when you hear somebody say, I'm offering you a dog and it's got the papers. You need to know the information. And this is the type of information that you want to know. You want to know about these contributing ancestors. And this goes across the breeds. It don't matter what breed that you got or that you're going to get. This is what you need to know. This is the information that's valuable. Not even if you aspire to breed, just to know your dog history and to know your dog, who it is and what it's made of and what it's likely to do. Okay. So I hope that you could pick up some of those things today. And this is that's the bottom line. And it's a summary of how we had end up in arriving at the dog that we chose. We didn't just go for any dog. We looked at several dogs, and I'm talking about dogs. We're talking about all over the world. We could have went with any dog. It was no limit on the dog. We looked at middle paws. We looked at Boston. We looked at Africa Boerboels. None of those. So this dog was selected through a lot of different dogs. We're going to bring him back up on the screen. The chosen one. The chosen one. And heaven sent. For real. One of the best dogs that we could have possibly have had. Proud to own them. Looking forward to the productions that we're going to be seeing coming up soon. And it's really about the evolution of the breed. Look at the pasturage that we're trying to build, the structure. If nothing else, one thing for sure, you're looking at the way that he's going to contribute to the blood that we already have, should clean it up real nice. Whether the dog is tall or small, he ain't super big. He only 115 pounds right now. Well, in them pictures, in these videos, he only 115 pounds. We took him to the vet, so I know that he got on the scale. But like I said, we're trying to clean up the pastures, the front end. We don't want the easty-westy in the front. And we have to identify a dog that's likely to reproduce what he has. And those is straight pastures, nice angulation in the rear. That's what we're trying to improve there. And I think we got a strong likelihood that that's going to be the case. So with that being said, we're going to close this out, boy buddies. I hope that y'all got some great information. Once again, mad respect for everyone that watched. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Until next time, boy buddies, peace.
No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and gloves. Now you got a deal run up. No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to